So welcome everyone. It's Annette Bau, the Millionaire Insider, founder of MillionaireSeries.com and PMA 360. And I'm so excited to have you join us today because we have Bill Cates in the house. So welcome, Bill.
Thank you, Annette. Great to be with you and your folks.
Yes. So I've known Bill for a long time, so I know like the inside scoop on Bill. And not only has he built two very successful companies that he sold, but now for years, like decades, he has helped financial advisors take their business from where they are to where they want to be by getting more warm introductions and referrals. And anyone who's been in this business for any amount of time that's successful understands that the key to taking your business to the next level is getting better and more warm introductions. And that's what he's going to share with us today. He's the author of 3 best-selling books, probably one of the best ones, Don't Keep Me a Secret, Getting More Referrals Now. And every time I talk to Bill, and I do talk to him fairly frequently, he's always all over the world. So he's not just obsessed with business, he really lives the life that I share with so many of you, how critical it is that not only we have a successful business, but that we have a successful and meaningful life. And so Bill is the real deal. So he's with Referral Coach International. And Bill, why don't you take it away and I'll add some comments as we go. I'm not sure I'll mute myself, and then if I have a comment to add here or there, I'll tune back in.
Sounds good, Annette. I appreciate it. And let me just make sure this is clicking. And okay. So please get ready to take lots of notes. There's a lot of content in this program, unless you're driving, of course. I am looking at the question box. I'm looking at the chat box. So if a question comes up or if there's something you need to say, please ask questions. We are recording this. I will send, hopefully within a few hours, by the end of the day anyway, I will get a link to the recording. I don't share the slides per se, but I do share the recording. And you can certainly catch what you need there. You can also screen capture if you need to. Share this with anyone you want. And as I mentioned, we will be answering questions. There's my email address. If at any point in time after the event, you have a question that occurred to you later or didn't get answered or whatever, for whatever reason you have a question, please shoot it over to me. That comes straight to me, and I'm happy to answer that question for you as best as I possibly can. So you're in the right place if you're looking for more ideal, or what I like to say, right fit clients. The title of this program has to do with attracting more wealthy, affluent individuals. And I use the term right fit because everybody's right fit client is different. But a right fit client is a client that you love to work with. It's perfect for the processes you like to deliver, the things you like to talk about. It's not just the financial aspect, although that's important as well, but it really is all the different attributes of working with right fit clients. And the beautiful thing, of course, about referrals and introductions is that it allows us to be proactive in just the right ways to meet the right people that we want to meet. You're in the right place if you have some good advocates already for your business, if you have some centers of influence and people who love you. Because that's the path of least resistance for the things I'm going to teach here. Everybody in this business, unless you're brand new, but even if you're brand new, you should have some people that love you, right? And this is, again, as I said, the path of least resistance for this. So you're in the right place if you don't mind stretching your comfort zone a little bit, because when it comes to client acquisition, when it comes to trying new ideas to be appropriately proactive, to reach out to folks and deliver your message, it's usually a stretch of the comfort zone, so hopefully you're willing to do that. And finally, you're willing to take meaningful action, because what we know about ideas is it's not ideas that make you successful, it's the action. And I will follow up with you after this. I'll send the recording, etc., just to make sure you're taking action. And if you have any questions, you can run them by me. So my promises for today, number 1, how to multiply your best clients, how to take those wealthy, affluent, right fit clients of yours, how to get more of those, and then how to really get good at this. You'll see that we're really going to cover 5 strategies. That's what I promised in the description. We're going to talk about your referability to make sure you're referable in the first place. I know a lot of folks ask for referrals. They ask for introductions. They don't get any. After a little examination, we realize they're not as referable as they need to be, and then we go into therapy. Ask for introductions. What does it look like to do that without being aggressive, without being pushy? And in this case, we're asking for introductions for just the right people, right? We want to move in that direction of right fit clients, wealthy, affluent, whatever right fit means for you. Now, you're going to hear me use the word referrals and introductions a little bit interchangeably. Please, when you're with a client, when you're with a prospect, when you're with a center of influence, use the word introductions, because you want to make sure you get connected to those people. You know, word of mouth, it's nice, it counts, but it's not usually how we're going to build our business in the direction we want. People tend to refer lateral and down on the economic scale. So in this program, we're going to talk about how to get referred lateral, how to get referred up a little bit, so you meet those right fit clients. We'll talk about a little 3-step process for centers of influence, CPAs, attorneys, and then we'll talk about social event marketing, which is a great way to meet high net worth, wealthy, affluent, right fit clients in the social events that you do. You have 3 specific types of social events that you can host. And then I'm circling this last one about how to talk about your value, because this is what's really on my mind these days, because this is what I'm writing my new book on, and I want to go into some depth. This is material that if you've ever seen me in the past, you probably haven't seen this material. This is new from me. So make sure you hang out until the end, because at the end, I'm going to show you some very specific things you've not heard from me, from anybody else. And I'm going to show you how to make this very, come to life and be very tangible for you. So for 25 years, I've been focused on referrals and now introductions. And what I alluded to earlier is when I first started doing this, a lot of folks would bring me in to teach them how to ask for referrals, and without begging, without pushing. And I discovered that people weren't referable. So we started focusing on client engagement and how to make sure you have great relationships from the get-go with prospects, with new clients, with ongoing clients, so that you're referable. And that alone will generate unsolicited referrals. And then, of course, with the do not call regulations and all the other ways it's just become so difficult to reach people, we've focused more on introductions and getting connected, which is so critical. And what I was doing, I was interviewing a group. I was giving a speech to a group of top producers for a company. So I interviewed a few of them. And here's what I learned. I learned that I said to them, when you get introduced to someone, what do you say? How do you describe what you do? How do you describe your value? And it was amazing. Some of the things they said were just so trite, so weak, so lame. And yet these people were having success. And so, of course, what I realized pretty quickly is that in some cases, the power of the referral, of the introduction, that a very high trusted individual is introducing you to someone who trusts them. And that'll take you through a weak value proposition. That'll take you through a weak sales process, and you'll get the business anyway. But you also lose a lot of opportunity. A lot of folks kind of go radio silent. And so I'm going to spend a lot of time today on that value prop and how you talk about that. And this is not theory today. This is really specific, tangible stuff. I'm going to give.
So, Bill, can I just chime in here for 1 minute? I want you guys to really get this. And Bill and I have not even spoken about this, but this is so fascinating. So your last slide, which is all about relevance. I just had a conversation with one of the top agencies of New York. I mean, these guys are like the who's who in the space of marketing and positioning. And the entire conversation was on relevance. So let's talk for 1 minute. What's the problem with Sears? What about JCPenney's?
Right.
What about Abercrombie Fitch? I mean, I took my kids shopping, which is a nightmare. We went to like 3 different stores, and then we went over to Abercrombie Fitch. All stores, Hollister, all the go-to stores for teenagers, packed. I mean, a line a mile long. You couldn't even breathe. You go over to Abercrombie Fitch, no one's even there.
Right.
All of those are not relevant. If you want to take it to the next level, like what he's saying, you have to be relevant. And that's why it's so critical when it comes to getting introductions. So I really wanted to make a point of that, because, Sears has the same products that Amazon has, but what happened? They're not relevant. So you've got to make sure you really get that. So thanks for pointing that out.
Yeah, of course. Absolutely. And we'll spend some good time on that near the end here. All right. So some proof, if you will, some evidence that people actually use the things I teach them to produce good results. Got this recently from Robin Wolf out of Miami. Using the methods that we teach. Last month, she received 12 qualified introductions, already set 7 appointments. What I really like about what Robin said to me is, I'm having so much fun with this. And the good news is you can have fun with the things I'm going to teach you here. It can be very fun. In fact, the more fun, usually the more effective. And Achilles Laria in New York City, after working the process with him, he doubled his business 1 year, and the next year went up another 60%, just all through tapping into the gold mine he was already sitting on. All right, so strategy one, become super referable. Let's make sure you're referable. You create advocates. They'll provide referrals without even asking. So it's all about creating engaged clients. There's actually a low correlation between client satisfaction and the giving of referrals. What the research has shown is that we have to create client engagement. It's not just a buzzword that people are using. It really is a real thing. And it goes like this. First of all, you make a value connection. You're feeling good about your value. They like the questions you ask. They like the things you teach. They like your responsive service. All along the way through the relationship, they see the value. I know you're doing this. I'm just trying to heighten your awareness on this and give you some specific things you can do. But then you also have to make a human connection, because if you're expecting to have influence, exert influence over someone's current and future financial life, they've got to have a sense of who you are and what you stand for. And they have to trust you, obviously. So here's the neat thing. If you can create this engagement, and we'll go a little deeper with this, if you can create this engagement and then leverage that to get introductions to others and then actually get connected, then this continues forever. And you really can create an incredible continuous flow of high value, right fit clients just through engagement, leverage, connection, engagement, leverage, connection. So it's all about creating connection on both levels. So I've taken the client journey, if you will, and divided it up into 3 unequal sections. The first one has to do with the prospect experience, making sure that you create engagement with prospects so you become referable quickly. With the new client experience, that you onboard them into your practice in a way that creates a wow experience. And then your ongoing client experience or client service promise to maintain that high level of engagement and, of course, referability over time. So there's so much we could talk about, but I'll give you a few things here in the time we have. So the prospect experience, we're trying to make a value connection and human connection. Let's talk about the human connection, because that's really so important. Talking about your client-centered, client-focused why. This is why you believe in the value. And it goes a little something like this. On an appointment, very first appointment with a prospect, I should say, you say, that's a little bit about what we do and how we do it. Let me shift gears for a second and share with you a little bit of why I do this. The why could be why you're still with the firm. It could be why you're still in this business after all these years, why you're an RIA, why you went independent, why you got started in the first place. There's a lot of whys. But Al Fox, very successful advisor, I've been working with Al for 10 years now. Al has over $850 million of assets under management. He's pushing $1 billion in 2 years. He says, the minute I developed and started using the client-centered why, the culture of his firm changed. He says the team started to understand and adopt his passion for the value. Everyone got on the same page when he shared his passion, his why, what drove him. And now that's in a very attractive quality to his prospects. So what is your client-focused, client-centered why? Why do you believe in the value? And then use that. Use it on the very first meeting, very first appointment. It could be this, especially if you're going after wealthy, affluent individuals. I've discovered that in doing this business, that even very successful, very smart people, they have a hole in their plan. They don't know what they don't know. And through asking a few questions and sharing a few ideas, we realize that there's a gap between where they are and where they want to be. And I just love closing that gap so everybody gets taken care of. So I just kind of made that up on the spot, but that's an idea of the value and the why and how you talk about the why. So that's one way to create incredible human connection, engagement quickly in a new relationship. Let's talk about a little bit about your onboarding process. Are you welcoming your new clients down the metaphorical red carpet into your life in a way that makes them go, wow? Now, when I talk about onboarding, I'm not just talking about putting them in, your CRM and Easy Money and eMoney or whatever and all that stuff. I'm talking about, 2 ways of engaging. One is bringing value. How do we keep bringing value? It could be a book related to finance, maybe a book you wrote, If you're into that, I think that's great. A lot of advisors coming out with books now. Could be a phone review of the first statement, invitation to an educational event, but how can you keep bringing value early on in that new relationship? And then how do you make that a human connection? How do you advance the business friendship a little bit? And there's some ideas on the screen there. Social media connection, thank you lunch, little goodies. I know people like to bake, cook, they send stuff. It's got to fit your personality. It's got to fit your clients, obviously, but there's a lot of ways to make the human connection. And in that, what happens is you create engagement. And who gets referrals? Engaged clients. And so let me give you one example. Brian Sweet in Fairmont, Minnesota, he says, we put in place our 90-day Dazzle program to make sure every new client customer gets the full impact of our value as quickly as possible. Now, his clients don't know that he calls it the 90-day Dazzle. That's an internal term. But he has a woman in his office who manages the checklist, and he makes sure that every client goes through the same process. Occasionally, they'll drop an item off if it doesn't fit that particular client. But what happens in this is this incredible engagement. The clients get an incredible amount of value, and this is what makes him referable. This wow factor, this onboarding, people are referring him or talking about him, introducing him just because of this initial process that they go through, even before they've done a ton of their work moving forward. And
let me add to that.
Yeah,
one of the
please.
reasons that's so powerful, my friends, is because no one does it. Like, if everyone was doing it and then he did it, no one would recognize it. But the reason they refer to you is because it's such a great experience. They're like, wow, this has never happened before. I've got an attorney, I've got a CPA, maybe a financial planner, insurance agent, and now all of a sudden it's such a different experience. Yeah. And that's what I want you to get. The other thing I want you to really resonate with this, what he's talking about is getting it, connecting with not just the head, as most advisors do, but also the heart. When you connect both, you integrate the logic with the emotion. That's the ideal situation that he's talking about.
Yeah, I was coaching a guy, excuse me, about a month ago. I was kind of frustrated because this guy had technical knowledge. This guy, and he did seminars, and people would come, but he couldn't understand why he wasn't converting to appointments, and why he might have an appointment and then they go missing in action is because they felt overwhelmed. He gave them so much information, but didn't connect on a personal level, didn't slow down a little bit and give a little sense of who he was and what drove him in this, that there was a gap there between his ability to deliver this information and turn it into business.
People make buying decisions based on emotions. They back them up with logic. And so
absolutely.
You guys should already know this, but that's what he's talking about. And he's just making it more present so that you're actually thinking about what tactical things you can do to do that. So that's awesome. Awesome.
Good. Thank you. And so the onboarding experience is kind of a wow, because you don't tell them you're going to onboard them in some special way. And don't try to do everything at once, by the way. Just start, where you can. But then what you do want to do is you do want to foreshadow your client service promise, because we found that when you talk to your prospects and brand new clients about what it will look like staying in touch with you, how you're going to meet with them, quarterly or whatever that might look like, and the educational events you put on, the value you'll drip on them, the golf tournament you put on, whatever it may be, whatever your client service promise looks like, when you convey that to them, even before you've delivered on it, you've already increased the engagement. They already feel engaged with you before you've delivered on it. So let the onboarding be kind of a wow, more than they expected, and then foreshadow how you're going to stay in touch with them and to make sure you follow the model. Because I'm telling you, with your A clients, your wealthy, affluent clients, you've got to have a model in place that drives your actions on a regular basis. If you don't have a model, or you do have a model, they can tell the difference. They can tell if you're winging it when it comes to how you're serving them. So if you've been in business for a while and you have a lot of clients or a lot of customers, if somebody's bought something from you, make sure at least with your A clients that you put that model in place. So one of the things we do in our client service promise, you've heard the expression working in your business versus working on your business. Most of the time you're working in your business, working with your clients, doing the work you do. And today, through this webinar right now, you're working on your business. Well, the same is true for our client relationships. We work in our client relationships most of the time, and every now and then we got to take a time out and work on the client relationship. And that's what I call the value discussion. That's the checking in with our clients to make sure there aren't any unexpressed complaints. It increases the engagement. One study showed that 40% of folks who gave referrals were asked for referrals, so we know we can ask and get, but 72% of people who gave referrals were asked for feedback, for input, this value check-in to make sure. We got to go ferreting out the little stuff that maybe they didn't like. In most cases, everyone's happy, but every now and then there's a little something, maybe somebody dropped the ball, and you got to ferret it out and get the emotional attachment off of it. So here's what it could look like. With a review meeting. It could be, let's put the market aside, let's put the economy aside, let's talk about something we can control, which is our communication, our overall working relationship. First of all, anything not working I should be aware of, right? Anybody drop the ball, I should, no, everything is great, you guys are great. No. Well, great, what, tell me more about that. What is working for you? How do we continue to earn your business? And this will light things up for you. It'll be amazing the things that you'll learn that you didn't realize you provided value on, or have it articulated in a way you hadn't thought about it. Every now and then you're going to run into a client who may have a little complaint you didn't know about it. Maybe they just want to meet with you a little bit more than they are, but it would go unexpressed if you didn't bring it up. We have to create the environment where this is comfortable for this sort of stuff. So let me give you some examples.
So Bill, can I stop you there? What I'd like everyone to do is just take a minute and share, what do you do to add value? Because it's easy to sit here and listen to all this and, oh yeah, that's great, oh, I do that. Well, do you? I mean, if you're not getting as many referrals as you want, which are real warm introductions, which I'm sure is the case with the vast majority of people attending, you have to connect the dots of where are you providing value and where is there a gap. So I just want to take a minute and give you an opportunity to kind of catch up and identify. Or perhaps just from already listening, you've already identified some things that you could really do to add some value. Because if you're missing this, nothing's going to change. And even if you implement what Bill's teaching you and you're not providing value, you're really not implementing it, but you're not going to get the results. So I'd just like to see what you're doing to provide value, because it's so critical and it's so easy to say, oh yeah, I provide value. Well, does your client see that as value? Are you following up with them to make sure that's what they want and not what you think they want? So I would just like to see what people have to say about that.
Yeah, anybody feel free to chime in the chat or the question box with that. I'll give you a couple of thoughts while we're waiting. Is one way to create incredible value. You don't do this with everybody because it's a little bit time consuming on your client's part and could be a little bit on your part, but is to help people get all their essential documents together. To hold them accountable to a process to make sure everything is organized in one place. And of course, if you help them with that, then you become the person, the first go-to contact for anybody in their life should something unfortunate happen to them. So that's a tremendous value offer that you can do. Another thing you can do, of course, is the intergenerational wealth and the transfer of wealth, and making sure that you bring the other spouse, if there's a lead spouse, and this goes right into Annette stuff, right, where the husband dies and the woman says, well, he was my husband's advisor, wasn't my advisor. I can't tell you how many times I've heard Annette say that, and it's true. And so that adds value to the relationship of making sure both parties are engaged in this. And even the adult children of your clients need to be engaged in all this. And some of those people become great clients in their own right. Another way you can provide value is your willingness to have the difficult conversations. What I mean by that is to question your client's assumptions and to remind them of things they know they need to do, that hold them accountable to this. I think that's where you really earn your big bucks is your willingness to have the difficult conversations, to make sure. A difficult conversation could be bringing the other spouse into this conversation, where someone wants to be the lead dog on this and doesn't want to bring the other person in. But that's not what's best for the client. Whenever you think in terms of what's best for the client, then it should give you the courage to do what you know you need to do. Nothing coming through. Here's one from Anna. She says, I offer to review everything they have in place, 401ks, pension plans, life insurance policies, IRAs, and make sure that they are all working to reach the goals that we've discussed that they want to accomplish. So a comprehensive look at everything. Thank you, Anna. I don't know how anybody can be a financial advisor and be so narrow as to only deal with insurance or only deal with investments or only deal with, it's got to be comprehensive. If you're not getting a full picture of the person, then how are you going to do the right thing for them? And of course, the industry is moving in that direction.
Well, and if you're not doing that, then you have competition. See, that's what people don't connect, is they're like, I don't understand why I have a competition. We have competition when you sell a product. When you start looking at their overall picture and are comprehensive and are an advisor as compared to a salesperson, everything changes. Yeah, absolutely everything.
That's true. I love this from Rod. Rod's in British Columbia, in Kelowna. He says, we started working together. I always, with the coaching, I almost always get people to start out in this value discussion, this checking in with their clients. And he says it was like unlocking this treasure chest of goodwill. He had clients say, oh, Rod, we love you. He said to me, he says, Bill, some folks said, Rod, we feel like we're part of a club, because he does some client appreciation events. And I said to him, I said, Rod, so did you tell him that the club needs new members? He says, no, I didn't do that. It's a good idea. And they started saying to him, Rod, we'd love to introduce you to other people. He didn't even bring it up. He just did the value discussion. He didn't even bring up introductions. And they brought it up on their side. So we know that this works. Here's a quick reminder, a little fun here, that cold calls are God's punishment for failure to get enough referrals. So if you're out there, stuck in cold call hell, please make sure that you refer them to referralcoach.com. Let's keep going. Strategy number 2, asking for, securing introductions. This is a collaborative approach. It's not a one-sided approach. It's not a setup. The old methodology of get the affirmative and then ask for referrals. Have you found value in the work we're doing here? Yeah, great. Who do you know? No. This is a collaborative approach. Here's what I found. Most financial advisors I work with, coaching, speeches, smart, confident people. You're smart. You're confident. You can't be in this business if you're not smart and confident. But when it comes to the stuff around introductions, you turn into a bowl of quivering jello. It's just amazing how all the smart and confident goes out the window. Why? Well, I get it. You don't want to look pushy. You don't want to look needy. You don't want to, hurt the relationship, all that good stuff. So Joe Winslow and I were doing a joint presentation out of his firm, San Mateo, California, last fall. And Joe's the top producer in the agency. And so we're doing this joint thing because he loves my stuff. He's been doing it for a long time. And he told everybody knows it. But he says, guys, sometimes there's still a part of me that feels uncomfortable with this. And they're all going like, Joe Winslow feels uncomfortable. He's like Bill's disciple, how could he feel uncomfortable with this? Well, then he said the magic phrase. He says, I just don't let that stop me. And he knows what his relationship to his fear, discomfort. My first sales trainer, Dave Sandler, called it Wimp Junction, right? He knows what his Wimp Junction is around this, and he just doesn't let him stop him, right? Look, we all wimp out from time to time, but we have to make the decision that what we're trying to do, bring our incredible value to other people, is worth feeling uncomfortable over, all right? So let's get into the asking. I'm going to give you my VIPS method for asking for referrals. Think of the referrals you get as the VIPs of your business, and that way you'll remember this. And I got to get off the screen before someone gets a migraine. So discuss the value, right? We've talked about this, checking in. You do this, whether you're going to ask for introductions or not, just make it the habit of checking in. Let your clients know that, and that pretty much every time we get together, I'm going to carve out a few minutes and I'm going to say, how are we doing, right? If something's not working, I want you to tell me so we can fix it or prevent it. If something is working, I want to know that so we can keep doing it for you and for others. So just let people know that your relationship is going to be based on checking in, and you're sending the message that you're there for them. You won't run away from the problems. Ann McCollum in Phoenix and that's why he says the very first time he used the value discussion strategy, client volunteered a referral that led to a $1.3 million client, right? Didn't even ask for introductions, just brought up the value, and it turned into results. It's amazing how this value discussion works. All right, so the S is suggest. What happened to my eye? Let me go back. All right, well, let me give you the I. Sorry, the I in the VIPS. I guess I lost the slide. Is treat the request with importance. Why do you treat it with importance? Is because you believe in the value that you do, and you want to bring this important work to other people. And my bet is everybody on this webinar, if you were in front of someone, anyone, you got introduced to them and you asked them a few questions, you could help them, because everybody's got a gap, a hole in their plan. except for your clients, right? And so this is important work. So come from that place of importance. The P is permission to brainstorm, right? We know that not everyone likes to have this conversation, especially around finances. And so the way to look different and not look like the old methodology, old school pushy, is to get buy-in to have this conversation. I'm glad you see the value in the work we're doing. And with that in mind, I've got an important question, because you know I'm on a mission to bring this value to others. I was hoping we could brainstorm for a minute, just see if we can identify a few folks that you think should be aware of the work I do. I have a couple ideas I'd like to run by, if that's okay. And that's where you go to the S, suggest names and categories. Come prepared, let them know you've come prepared, right? And what we want to do is stop throwing open the whole universe. Who do you know we can help? Who do you know can benefit from this work? Because it usually fizzles. It usually goes nowhere. And it's definitely not going to take you in the direction you want to go, to wealthy and more affluent clients. That's the whole premise of this conversation, is you want to build your practice in the direction you want to build it. So when you throw it up into the whole universe, because people tend to refer lateral and down on the economic ladder, you're not necessarily going to get the people you want. So you've got to direct it. And so here's how you direct it. Here is the bullseye in asking for introductions. Are you ready? The bullseye is specific people you know are in their life. People they've mentioned probably in the past. Maybe the last meeting you found out they have their sister and brother-in-law in the area, or their Uncle Ernie owns a business, right? Whoever you know, they know. That is the most powerful, easiest, most comfortable, most effective way to have this conversation. It's narrow, it's specific. Now, maybe they don't want to introduce you to their Uncle Ernie. Uncle Ernie doesn't pay attention. Doesn't matter. You've gotten the conversation started. And then you can move out a little bit to money in motion categories, life events, whatever was going on in their life that put you into their radar, into their world. Maybe you start there. And then you can move from there. You can go into LinkedIn and lists and directories and open-ended brainstorming. But you don't want to start broad and then narrow. You want to start narrow and expand out. And you create curiosity when you say, there's a couple of folks you've mentioned in past meetings. I think I could be a great resource for them. Why don't we find out? Can we chat about it a little bit? And then they'll say, well, who do you have in mind? And that is the easiest, most comfortable, most effective way to do this. So have the value discussion, come from a place of confidence. Don't plow forward without their permission. Make sure they're okay having this conversation, and then direct the conversation where you want it to go. So I asked for some questions ahead of time, and I got a couple. One of the questions that was asked, I got in last night, was this person says, too many of my clients keep sending me referrals to the wrong types of prospects. How do you get referred up? Well, getting referred up comes in two areas. One is to make sure that you're asking the right people, because people do tend to refer lateral and down. If you're asking C clients, you're going to probably get C prospects. Now with your B and A clients, now you can start to work on getting referred up, especially your A clients, where you can teach them who you serve the best. Notice I didn't say teach them who you're looking for, teach them who you serve the best. This is a client-centered focus, who your processes work best for. And the conversation goes like this, Nat, I'm glad to see the value in what we're doing. And I love this work. I believe it's important work. And we've made a decision to work with people just like yourself, right? People who have saved well for retirement, people who make a good income and know the value of professional advice. And then I can go in a little more detail around numbers if I want to, and around demographics, psychographics. But I let them know we're looking for people like them. And so we're creating some parameters here. We're not looking for anybody, right? Who do you know we can help? It's let's talk a little bit about who our processes work for. That's how you educate people. Let your clients know, even without asking for introductions. By the way, Annette, if you ever identified someone you think should know about the work I do, I might be the right advisor for them. I might not. I'll talk to them, never too busy to have a conversation with them and see, does it make sense? Am I the right person for them? If I'm not, then I have associates. I have other folks that probably are right for them, and I'll make that match. But I just want you to know that we're a little bit on the selective side, because we want to make sure we match our processes with their situation, so they're with the right advisor. So notice all this language is all about doing what's right for the client. right? It's not about you, who I'm looking for, who I'm trying to bring into my business. You can have that conversation with some folks, especially your centers of influence. But in most cases, you want to make it about the outward stroke of value that you bring and who fits into your process. Don't take on clients that don't fit your process. You create lose-lose situations.
Well, that was what I was going to ask you a question on.
Yeah,
Do you find
please.
that most people that are getting referred to the wrong people, it's typically because the person that's doing the referring to begin with isn't really qualified?
It could be. Yeah, so I mean, that's why you start to play the odds of making sure that you're not asking everybody now.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to move in that direction of wealthy, affluent, or whatever right fit looks like for you, then you're a little more selective who you ask around this. You don't ask everybody for this, and you're no longer into the quantity game. You're in the quality game, which is very important.
That's huge. Yeah.
We got a note from Jim. He says, my role is in business development, not as an advisor. Advisors work with their clients meeting monthly, quarterly, every 6 months. How can I leverage their relationships to gain warm introductions? Well, first of all, Jim, I recommend that you also have a relationship with these people. It's not going to be the same that the advisor does, obviously. But when if they come into the office, pop your head in, shake a hand, bring a beverage, whatever you can do. When as a business development person and you maybe set the appointment up, make sure you meet them, put a name with a face because they've talked to you on the phone. I did work with an advisor out of actually Albuquerque. His name was Stephen. And his business development person came to our boot camp 3 years in a row because she realized that Stephen wasn't going to ask for referrals. So she had to take it upon herself to do it. And so she made sure she had a relationship. Now, there is some value in you checking back with your clients and say, hey, you've been working with Steve now for a couple months. How's it going? You can have a value discussion with them. Probably going to be on the phone, but you can still have that value discussion. You can see what's working. Sometimes that other party coming in and checking in on how the communication is going is not a bad way to go. I mean, the advisor should do it, but having you come in a little bit more neutral, if you will, not a bad thing as well. So this process really works for you. And the key is to make sure there's a little bit of relationship there and stay in touch with these folks. Again, it won't be the same way that advisor stays in touch, but it's such a relationship-based game that you got to make sure you have that relationship.
So Bill, quick question. When do you recommend a person start setting the stage for referrals? Because I know in the past you've talked a lot about that, where you're letting them know, hey, what do I have to do a good job to get referrals? Do you still recommend they do that early on, or what process?
Yeah, you can do it early on. You have to be a little careful because you don't want to make it look like the old I get paid in 2 ways methodology. It makes it look like referrals and obligations relationship. You certainly don't want to do that. But if you have a first meeting and you say, we've been through a bit of a process here. I asked you a lot of questions and you asked me a few quick, tell me the value you feel you've gotten from this first meeting, and they'll tell you. So you have a little value discussion. And you say, great, we're just getting started here, but just please know that I'm never too busy to see if I can be a resource for other people you care about. It's important. It's a good match that I'm the right person for them, but please don't keep me a secret out there. So those are a couple of never too busy to see if I can be a resource. That's the qualifying, to see if I can be a resource. Don't keep me a secret. Next time you get together, you could teach them how you would handle it if they've thought of someone. Now, if you ever identify someone you think should be aware of what I do, first of all, everything we do is confidential. They'll never learn about your situation and vice versa. And we handle this sort of thing with great care. I'm not just going to call people from out of the blue and surprise them and make them wonder, why didn't I give my name out to this guy? Right? Nobody likes that kind of call anymore. I work through introductions. So if you identify anybody, let's talk about it. Let's craft an introduction that feels comfortable for everyone, and we'll move from there. So the second meeting, just teach people how you handle it. Is a very powerful thing. So first couple meetings, plant the seed, promote the possibility, and then usually at a deliverable, if it's an insurance product or a financial plan, that's a pretty nice place to actually come out and check in and see if you can identify some specific people for introductions. Get to this question real quick, because it was asked last night, also came in an email. When should I qualify referrals that come to me so I take on the wrong clients? Well, I already alluded to the fact that you want to teach your clients, teach the advocates, teach your A level, who you serve the best, so they only send you A level back. If someone volunteers a possible introduction in a meeting, say, great, I'd love to talk to your friend. Let's see if it makes sense. Let's see if I'm the right person and we're the right firm for them. If someone calls you and said, hey, I grew up with this guy, George Smith. I know he's your client. He said I should talk to you. He likes the work you're doing. Well, if it's not out in the core family, nucleus of family, then you got to qualify. You qualify them over the phone. You describe your business model. You describe a little bit of the demographics of people who you serve. And usually they'll self-qualify out if they don't have the income or the assets. Now, by the way, if that ever happens, immediately get on the phone with that referral source and say, hey, I just talked to your friend George. We figured out the timing wasn't right for us to work together, but I appreciate the confidence you have in me, and I look forward to the next opportunity. Don't say anything that's going to reveal the fact that maybe this guy doesn't have the kind of money you're looking for. Later, another meeting down the road, you can teach your referral source what it looks like. So we're really qualifying every step along the way. Matt Havens, we just finished a coaching engagement, 6 months with him and his team. He says they've super segmented their clients. Now they only look for clients who are a joy to work with. Now their perspective's a little different, but I just love that, right? He's been at this business long enough that he wants right fit clients. So for him, right fit clients are people who are a joy to work with, appreciate his perspective on investments and financial planning and that sort of stuff. So he's pretty selective and he gets the people he's looking for. So real quick, let's talk a little bit about connections, and I want to go to the next topic. When the Food and Drug Administration is approving a drug for the market, it's looking, is the drug safe and effective? Well, guess what? That's what we want for our introductions. We want them to feel safe for everybody and be effective, at least pique the interest of that person. So here's a list of things that you want to do here, and I'll go through this. Be assumptive around the introduction, where you're not assumptive necessarily about that their willingness to talk about introductions, referrals. Once they bring someone up or you bring someone up and they say, yeah, I'd be happy to introduce you to George. Great. Let's talk about what that looks like. Let's talk about how you introduce me to them. My guess is George would like to hear from you before he hears from me. Let's talk about what that looks like. It's all about protecting the relationship. They want to protect their relationship. So let them know they can do it. We're going to craft the right approach here. Take your time. This is where it falls through the cracks for a lot of people, where you find people willingness to have this conversation, but you don't formalize the introduction, and then it falls by the wayside, and you're not sure how to pick it up again. This is a very common coaching conversation I have with folks. And so what do you think you need to say to George? How do you think he'll react to this? Have that conversation. Agree on time frame. When are you going to talk to George so I can follow up appropriately? Or when do you think you have a chance to shoot that email out? So I don't want to miss it. I want to make sure I follow up in time, in a good time frame, right? So you agree on the time frame. Now, let's say I got my clients talking to their friend George on Saturday. They're playing golf, and I'm going to follow up with a client on Monday. I'm going to say, hey, I'm going to send an email on Friday that says, I appreciate the opportunity to see if I can be a resource for George. I'll call you Monday as we agreed. A reminder in the form of a thank you. And so just by doing this, by formalizing this process a little bit, by showing your client this is what's necessary, you could talk to George. It's great, but he'll never call me. Why? Because people put this work off for all kinds of reasons. I found that what works best is to create an introduction, a connection that at least piques their interest just enough to hear from me, and we take it from there. If they're interested, great. If not, no big deal. I'll back off. I'm not going to hurt my relationship with you by hurting, your relationship with them. And so we make sure that we craft an introduction. So important. Strategy 4 out of 5, forming productive relationships with other trusted advisors, CPAs, attorneys, business consultants. What is a CPA's biggest fear of giving you referrals? Well, their biggest fear is that you're going to somehow mess up their relationship with their client. These are risk-averse individuals, so everything we do is about building trust. It's all about building trust. So we've got to proceed with care. That's why I have a caution sign here. This is a slow trust-building process. Some people come on too strong. You're excited about the value you can bring to the CPA's clients, but that looks salesy to them, and they don't like that, and it turns them off. So first thing you want to do is, how can you provide value to the CPA? How can you provide value to the attorney, right? What can you do to help them in their practice? Learn about their practice. What's their vision? What's their gap between where they are and where they want to go? How can you as another business person help them? And maybe they'll help you. Make sure you talk about your why and find out what their why is if they have it. Case studies. Bring your practice to life. Just because you send an attorney or a CPA a couple of referrals, hoping the law of reciprocity will kick in, they'll send them back to you. Nope. They were born without the reciprocity gene. That does not make you referable. You have to become referable, right? Introduce them to other resources, not just other potential clients, but resources that can help them. You become this resource for them that has nothing to do with them introducing you people to you, right? And then the next step, then you start to formalize the relationship. Now this can take 9, 12 months sometimes for that slow trust to build, right? So let me give you a couple of stories. My advisor, Aaron, found an attorney who thought would be a good match. He went to the attorney's office, learned as much as he could about the attorney's business and philosophy around estate planning and all that. And then the attorney came to Aaron's office, and Aaron just laid out his entire process. This is what we do in our first meeting. Here's what we do in our second meeting. This is how we stay in touch with our clients, soup to nuts. And the attorney says, Aaron, I've had so many people over the years introduce themselves to me, try to get access to my clients, and you're the first one who's actually laid out your entire process, right? People don't do this. So you got to remember, these people haven't experienced the work that your clients have. You've got to bring it to life for them. I was another guy I was coaching, doing a lot right. I said, why am I coaching you? You're doing everything right. He says, no, I can fine tune. I said, good. Well, he tapped into an accountant who had a vertical market of dentists and doctors, and he had already worked with some dentists and doctors. And that's the beautiful thing of a vertical market. You can find other centers of influence that also tap into that vertical market. And so he laid out his entire process. He said to his client, to the center of influence, he says to the accountant, I'm going to just pretend you're a client. You can give me bogus numbers. I don't care what numbers you give me, but I want to run you through the process so you experience what it's like to be a client. And the CPA was so blown away by what this guy did that now they're doing quarterly meetings where the whole purpose of the meeting is to introduce their clients, their dentists and doctors, to this advisor. And they become incredible advocates, and this is feeding him great high-level clients, because we know that when our CPA or attorney recommends someone to us, it's usually pretty much a done deal, a slam dunk, right? And then make sure you receive the referrals you get properly from anybody, from everybody, centers of influence, you name it. And I call it creating referral trust. Treat the prospect like royalty, right? Let everybody in your firm know, hey, this is a referral, an introduction from so-and-so. White gloves, everybody, right? Because you want to make sure feedback is good. Respond immediately. Don't ever sit on introductions. Respond quickly. They appreciate your responsiveness. Update the referral source. Keep them in the loop. Let them know what's happening. Set a meeting with so-and-so next week. I'll let you know how it goes. Now, if the prospect becomes a client, technically you're not allowed to reveal that. So just make sure you get permission from the client to let the referral source know that you're working together. If you're having trouble reaching the client, they're not responding, bring the referral source back into the loop here. Maybe they'll help you out. Say thank you. Handwritten note would be minimum. A little gift is nice. Something personal. Where they went to university, I send coasters and mugs with their logo on, not mugs, but the Yeti type cups. They love it because it's personalized. And then you get your new client to thank the old client. And that you and George play golf together sometimes. Yeah, great. Tell you what, I got a box of Pro V golf balls here. The gold standard. 2 sleeves for you. 2 sleeves to make sure you give to George, right, for sending him our way. Yeah, and it's got my logo on it, so make sure you lose them in the fairway. So we got new happy clients giving a little thank you gift to the referral source. Here's a very powerful way to do it. I was thinking about taking George to lunch and say thank you for sending you to us. I got a better idea. Let's both take him to lunch. I mean, I'll pick up the tab, but the lunch comes from both of us. The thank you comes from both of us. He needs to know he did a good thing. And so now you got.
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, what I love about what he's saying is he's also buying shelf life, because if you have your logo or your image or your name somewhere where people are seeing it, it's like they can't get away from you. They're thinking about you. Those are the little things that get into your get into a person's hardwired neural pathway, where it's kind of like, all right, right now I don't need an advisor, but when they do, you're the first person that comes to mind. That's powerful.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. All right, lots to cover, not a lot of time left, so let's keep going. By the way, if you're part of an organization, association, or firm, broker-dealer, RIA, whatever, FMO, I'm always looking to get the message out there. It could be my tried and true client multiplication message, or it could be my new message about how we talk about our value. So reach out to me, give me an introduction. Don't keep me a secret. Happy to help. Now, that was last strategy. That was strategy 3. This is strategy 4. I had the wrong number on it. My apologies. Maximizing social event marketing. This is an incredible way to enhance client engagement. Remember, who gives referrals? Engaged clients get referrals. So creating these business friendships are incredibly powerful. So there's 3 types of social events to leverage. First of all, client appreciation events. When your clients who like you and trust you get together with other clients who like you and trust you, everybody walks away liking you and trusting you more. It's called congruence theory in psychology. And that alone has a lot of value. Now, if they bring a guest, that's even more value. We'll talk more about that in a second. Celebration events are a subset of a client appreciation event where you're celebrating a retirement, a birthday, a new business venture, an anniversary, whatever it may be. And I can't tell you how many advisors I've coached and seen over the years have done so well with this. Gail is an advisor in Red Bank, New Jersey, built $1 million business, taking people out to lunch on their birthday and having some of their colleagues join them. You know, they have their lunch. It's great. Everybody leaves. One person hangs around a little longer. It says, you know, Gail, George has said some nice things about you. I'd love to have you take a look at our situation. And that's it. Turns into new clients just doing the appreciation celebration event. I'll give you an example of that in a second. The VIP events, the special invitation events, these are where you want to make sure that people know that the purpose of this event is for an introduction. What I've seen is a lot of advisors will say to their clients, you know, we have this client appreciation event. Feel free to bring a guest. Maybe they bring a guest, maybe they don't. And if they do bring someone, that person isn't necessarily qualified or interested in working with you. They just like to taste the wine or whatever. So a special invitation event is where the whole purpose of this is for introductions, right? You know, we do these events. Well, we've learned that a lot of people, the best way to be introduced to them is in a social environment where we're not talking business. So we got this wine tasting coming up in 6 weeks. I wanted you to hold a date. I wanted you to think about who you can invite, who you think would appreciate learning about us. And we're not going to talk business. Don't worry. It's just a social way of introductions. We'll send you an invite. We'll follow up, see who you'd like to bring. And so a little mail call there to let them know the purpose of this event is for introductions. Now, I'm a big believer in smaller events over larger events. Why? Because the purpose of a client appreciation event, celebration event, invitation event is connection. You're trying to connect and talk to these people and get to know them a little bit so that when you meet for a business meeting later, you're at a higher level, right? And so smaller events will facilitate connections. Larger event hinder connections. So dinner, 10 people around a round table, right? Cooking class or wine tasting, chocolate appreciation could be maybe 12, 15 people. Whatever event you ever do, you have to think, how is this event going to facilitate connections for me? Let me give 2 examples of folks that I've worked with. Mike Barrett out of Des Moines. Mike used to write a wine column for a publication. He's an enthusiast. He and his girlfriend go to a lot of tastings. He meet very well-heeled individuals at these philanthropic events, but he didn't know how to turn it into an opportunity to talk about what he did. How do I tell people what I do, right? How do I bring that up naturally in a conversation? I said, Mike, have you ever hosted a wine tasting at your firm? He says, yeah, I've done that. He says, so start doing it quarterly and invite people to your firm's wine tastings. And they will say, what do you do that you put on wine tastings? And then he starts to talk about what he does into a very comfortable conversation. And the year I worked with him, his business increased by 60%. And this was one of the strategies that we put into play. So how you can leverage a hobby and interest to create conversations. Let me tell you about Joe DeSena. Joe does retirement parties. He asked his client to invite 40 guests. Now you're thinking, 40, that's a lot of people. We didn't start with 40. He started with a couple of couples, and it built over time. They do the inviting. Everybody invited sees that it's Joe DeSena and his firm that's hosting this party. It's not the spouse. It's not a colleague from work. It's not a neighbor. It's Joe, the advisor. And then, Bob, the guest of honor, puts his arm around Joe and says, I wouldn't be retiring right now if it wasn't for Joe DeSena. Obviously, he's been a great advisor. And you can see from this evening's event, he's also been a great friend. And that's when the clients say, or the guests say, Joe, psst, can I have a card? Love to talk to you about our situation. My advisor, cheapskate, never do anything like this. And this is how Joe has built a multi-million-dollar practice, just celebrating his clients' lives in all kinds of ways. He averages 7 new high-value, right-fit clients for his practice every time he does one of these. So this social event marketing is incredible. Now, I want to go into how you message your value. But first, I want to talk a little bit about a way to start to get really good at this, because I promised you I was going to help you get good at this. And so hang in there. We're going to talk about how you message your value. But I just want to tell you about a little something we've got just for Annette's audience. We know that knowledge is, no, not power. Knowledge is worthless unless we take action, right? So success comes from action. So which strategy would you like to work on? Do you need to be more referable? Do you need to ask for introductions and have a better process in place for that? Do you want to be more productive with advisors? Do you want to maximize your social event marketing? Do you want to have better messaging for your clients, which we're about to address, right? What aspect would you like to work in? Because we have a very short, highly focused coaching offer, I guess, call it. It's with me, and here's what we do. It's only $299. It's about $920 of what people normally pay for my coaching, and we only take 5 per month. So we have spots for 4 more for this month, and then because I haven't promoted it in a while, and then we got 5 more open in March. And you go to a Kate's webinar special. That will take you into the portal that looks a little like this, exactly like this. In fact, these are screen captures, and it'll tell you about this offer real quick. Here's what's included. We give you a radical relevance value proposition generator. I'm about to go into your value proposition. How do you talk about it? This will walk you through the entire process. And then we have a series of coaching calls. You walk through this process, you send it to me, we evaluate it, we look at the work you've done. And then we talk about what else would you like to do? Would you like to talk about social event marketing? Would you like to talk about referrals? Would you like to talk about being more referable? What is it you want to talk about next? I'll send a few videos. I'll send a few other tools we have that's right for the prescription, if you will. And then we have another call, and we make sure that you get big bang for your buck here and your time, because it's highly, highly focused. 2 bonuses. One is our right fit client checklist to make sure you know what questions they ask and things to look for to create a right fit client for you. And then also a video about your mindset to make sure you have the right growth mindset in place to take advantage of all the referral strategies that we teach. So it's a pretty high value tool. Just go to kateswebinarspecial.com. We take 4 more for this month, 5 for next month, and then we're booked. So,
and I just want to add something, comment to that. I can't believe you're doing 2 strategy sessions with them. I mean, that's huge, guys. This is huge. I'm also going to throw in a bonus for anyone that does this with Bill. I just completed a brand new white paper. So I was thinking, like, what can I do to really add value? Because I know how valuable Bill's information is. And what you're going to get from me is the 20 millionaire insider secrets to fast track to results. And I get asked all the time on my journey advising the top 1% and 2% of millionaires and multimillionaires, what were your biggest takeaways? So in addition to everything Bill's providing you, you're also going to get that. So just to make it a no-brainer. But one of the things I just want to say is that the reason I asked Bill to come on to a call and provide you this value is because so many people have trouble and challenges when it comes to warm introductions. And he gets it. And he gets it not just from oh yeah, we all need referrals, but from a very methodical, process, which a lot of people need, meaning knowing exactly what to say, when to say, and how to say it. And I'm still a little shocked that you're doing 2 strategy sessions.
Hey,
But
well,
that's impressive.
Part of it, and as I've been holed up writing my new book, and I just got to get out and talk to people and do my thing and provide some value. I love doing it. It becomes a laboratory for me, so I win. Everybody wins. Happy to provide value.
Well, and believe me, you're going to get it. By the time you get done, you're going to know exactly what you need to do. So hopefully you're going to take advantage of that.
Let's go into the last strategy real quick. And if you have to pop off because of the time, it's fine. We're going to send you the recording. But this is all about some of my new stuff coming from my new book, and it's how we talk about our value. Because even if you get introduced to someone, if you don't communicate your value properly, you're going to lose them. They're going to go missing in action. And so we know that every human being, your prospects and you and me, we get about 3,000 marketing messages every 24 hours. It turns out to be about 3 every second or minute, or it's just nuts. It's just too much, right? Everybody's overwhelmed. How do we get through to prospects that are a right fit? And the key is hitting the bullseye in their brain that resonates. It's actually the amygdala is the bullseye, and it's the emotional part of the brain. And we have to bring a message to them that'll resonate, that's relevant to what's going on in their life, and that's compelling enough to move them forward to take action. So if you're not relevant, you're going to be ignored, right? If people ignore your email, if people ignore your voicemail, it's because you're not relevant to them. So one of the best questions, by the way, you can ask someone who's referring or introducing you is what's going on in their world that's important to them. What's going on in their world, their business that's important to them. And if you make the introduction all about that, guess what? You are instantly relevant to them. So one level I teach is what I'll call strategic relevance, which is the big picture stuff, target market, vertical market, identifying your ideal client, right? It has become so important now to start thinking in terms of a vertical market. It's one of the few ways you can distinguish yourself in the marketplace and bring extra value. So what happens when you do this, it's easier to identify your prospects when you go after a vertical market, be employees in a large firm, could be business owners in a specific industry. It's easier to identify people. It's easier to bring more value because you know their world. You know their benefits package better than someone who's generic. You know the way people get compensated in a certain industry in a way that someone who's generic doesn't know. You join forces, as I mentioned earlier, with other centers of influence who are also focused on that vertical market. Now, some people wonder, do I vertical market? Do I not? Well, let me tell you, this is the way it works. All right. Let's say you want to go after wealthy individuals, which is one of the premises of this webinar. All right, that's cool. I work with multimillionaires with complex financial situations. That's what one guy I know says. That's not bad. But what about business owners? Because we know that's a lot of where the wealth is concentrated anyway, or people that inherit that. So I work with business owners. So that's better. What about business owners in a specific industry, manufacturing, printing, healthcare, whatever it may be? And then what about multi-generational business owners or business owners? I was just coaching a guy this morning who works with business owners who are thinking of selling their business. Gotten very narrow as you can get. The more narrow, the better, right? So I was working with one guy named Bob. I'm waiting for permission to use his last name because we just had this conversation. So this is his quandary. He'd been in business for 10 years. He knew it was time to focus, to zero down in so he could bring more value and be perceived differently in the marketplace. So he worked for a bank. He was a very high-level banker. He worked with mergers, acquisitions, et cetera, sales of businesses. So he knew he could bring a lot of value to small business owners. He also worked with a lot of financial executives, owners of hedge funds, high-level executive hedge funds and folks like that, alternative investment funds. He also worked with a lot of ESOP companies, did a lot of ESOP transactions, so he knew he could help people with that. And he just had an affinity to working with women in transition. And no, he wasn't single doing prospecting in that regard. But these were the places he was thinking about going. And so after a conversation, we finally realized the best place for him was these high-level financial executives because he was one. He has empathy for their world. He knows what it was like to have very complex financial situations and to not necessarily, and he knew that he finally realized he didn't know what he didn't know. These guys are smart, guys and gals, but they don't know what they don't know. And sometimes they try to do it themselves. And so this is where he's now focusing his energy. He's narrowed it down. And do you think how he talks about his value is more effective when he talks to these people? Of course it is. The more you expand, the weaker your value proposition, because you're trying to hit on all these different points that these people don't necessarily share, don't necessarily have in common. So you got to narrow it down. Tom McDonald, one of the top producers in his company, says, early in my career, I asked top producers, if you were able to start over again, what would you do differently? And he told me the most common answer was to focus on a target market, to not be all things to all people. This is his website, right? Broadstone Advisors. This is not the typical financial advisor website, but if someone's a prospect for his business and they get referred to him and they look at his website, they go, this guy gets me. This guy gets my world. Todd McDonald works with closely held, family-owned, heavy construction firms. They build roads, they build bridges, they build runways. He gets their world. He has empathy. He brings value that no one else can bring to that world by targeting extremely successful national business, national scope. Don't you miss the clip art? Don't you miss the couple walking down the beach? Yeah, but guess what? His art shows what he does. Now, this is Russ Thornton. I love Russ and what he's done. He works with women, wealth care for women. His company name says what he does, which is also important. Clarity and comfort around your money so you can explore what's possible in your life. Clarity and comfort. Those are bottom line benefits. That's what people want. He did a lot of research into what his prospects, what they want, what his women and transition clients wanted. They wanted clarity and comfort. So guess what? He uses those words. They're the hero. He's not the hero. They're the hero, right? He talks in language that they get. You've got money, maybe a lot, but you worry, da-da-da-da-da, right? Very conversational language. Very important. And he shares his why. Why is this guy focusing on women? And he talks about what happened with his mom and how that brought an affinity for the work he does with women. And so he personalizes it, and he's doing extremely well in this business because he's narrowed his focus. If you try to appeal to everyone, you run the risk of appealing to no one, right? The more narrow, the better. So let's talk about your bullseye. What is a right client for you? What does that look like for you? You got to know so you can communicate it, right? Is it, divorced or widowed women like Russ Thornton? Is it affluent couples, right? Is it young couples? Maybe, maybe not. Not if you're going after wealthy, right? That's okay. Any market's good. Are they couch potatoes? No, probably not. It's probably not your market. Do-it-yourselfers are probably not your market either, right? Because you're going to be fighting with them the whole time. Business owners or successful business owners. The more narrow, the better. You've got to figure out what your bullseye is, because all your messaging will be much more effective when you speak to your buyer persona, your bullseye. This is a marketing term that's gaining a lot of popularity. So in a nutshell, a buyer persona is kind of a representation of who you want to serve the best. It's a composite almost of who you want to serve the best. So this could be an example of this. This is I just created for you guys, but you want to go after small business owners. Edward the entrepreneur, he owned a business, he sold a couple, he's a serial entrepreneur, right? He loves growing his people, wants to do good in them. The more narrow and the more you can put a face and all these psychographic and demographics, the more you know your bullseye, you know what's going to happen? The more you're going to attract your bullseye, because you're going to talk and act in ways that are going to attract these people. And you're going to bring more value to them because you focus on people like them. It's not just perceived value, it's real value that you bring to them. The more precise, the more powerful. So where do you communicate your value? Well, how about like everywhere, right? Just anytime you or anyone who works for you is communicating your value, they're talking about your value, right? So what do you try to accomplish when you talk about your value? What is your goal? Look at your website. right now? Look at your LinkedIn profile. What are you trying to do? Are you just trying to say, this is who I am? This is what I do? Or are you looking for a little bit more? The first question you must answer is, who is the hero here? Is your website presenting you as the hero? Or is your prospect and client the hero? Because I can tell you, if you make them the hero, you are the guide. They want to be the hero of their own story. I'm not saying that some of these credentials aren't important, but the most powerful tool in marketing and sales is empathy. You are the Yoda to their Luke Skywalker, right? That's the way you need to think about this. So one of the most powerful questions you can ask when you're sitting with someone is with brand new prospects is, why did you come in today? Why did you decide to talk to me? What is their story, right? I've got 3 great words for you. Ready? These are simple, most powerful words you ever learn in terms of client acquisition. Tell me more. Anytime a client talks about family, anytime they talk about passion, anytime they talk about anything, be a good listener, get into that, tell me more. You're going to learn about other people in their world that you can serve, and you're going to get to know them, and you're going to create that engagement. When you talk about your value, you want to attract the right people, right? And you want to repel the wrong people. You're being selective now, right? It's no longer throwing a net to the whole world. And so how you talk about your value will do that. If they're not, if the way you talk about your value doesn't resonate with them, good, because they're not the right person for you anymore. They're not a right fit client. And then ultimately, how you talk about your value needs to create action, needs to stimulate action on their part, right? And needs to determine fit. So let me give you some examples around this. The old, what do you do question, right? What do you do? Sometimes you ask you this, sometimes you have to say, this is what I do. So I want to leave you with a formula of how to answer this question. And if you want to work together with this focused coaching program, we can refine this and get it fine-tuned. Now, question, are you an expert? Yes, you are. You are an expert. Now, your compliance department probably won't allow you to call yourself an expert, but they will allow you to say you have expertise in a certain area. And I found that most people don't like to call themselves expert. They feel like it's pompous, but they don't mind saying, this is my expertise. It's just something about it softens it up. So you lead with, my expertise is in. And this, rather than saying you're a financial advisor or a financial planner or an insurance specialist or a wealth manager, don't lead with title. Lead with expertise. Then, I work with, this qualifies, demonstrate your market. I work with small business owners. I work with small business owners who are thinking of selling their business. I work with women in transit, whatever it is. You identify your market to them who want to. Whatever your market wants, that's the benefit, right? You bring them what they want, right? I'll give you some examples, don't worry. And then the value in action, it brings to life. It's for example, it's a story, it's your why. So let me give you a couple of examples. So mine were the Referral Coach International.
Oh, Bill, hold on a second. I just want to be sensitive on the time.
Yep.
So for some of you, if you can't stay on, just note down below, kateswebinarspecial.com. You can go there. And is there a time frame on that, Bill? How long?
Yeah, well, we'll take 4 more this month, and next we probably have a couple. I haven't seen the stats yet, and then we can. And since we're so close to the month of April, we'll end up overlapping. So the time frame really, it's not so much a time frame; it's a capacity issue.
Okay, all right, gotcha. Okay,
you can sign up and start in May if you want to, if we hit the limit.
And so for some of you, if you do have to leave. If you just go down and say, just where did you get the most value? And more importantly, what are you going to do to implement? There's been a lot of information, great information, a lot of information. And so I'm sure some of you are going, oh my gosh, where do I begin? I'd love to have you, before you leave, just identify 1 or 2 things that you're going to commit to taking action on, so that you don't get into that limbic state where you're like, there were so many good ideas and then you don't do anything. Yeah. All right. So thank you guys so much for attending. We'll continue on here for somebody that can stay on, but I want to let you know that I really appreciate that you've taken the time to attend this training. Now you just got to do what Bill said. Knowledge is part of the car equation. Then we've got the action or the activity to get the results. And so you've got the information. Now you've got to go take action. So thanks so much.
Thank you. And when I send the follow-up webinar, the recording, I'll send a couple of reports that are related to this, and you and I can have a conversation. We can all talk about this. It's good. So I do want to finish. I know I've gone over a little bit. I want to finish up with this formula because I think you guys will find it very helpful. So for myself, it's showing business owners how to grow without increasing their marketing budgets, right? Who wouldn't want to increase their income without, adding to their marketing budget? Well, that's what relationship marketing does. So I work with financial professionals at our company who want to acquire more ideal clients through referrals, introductions, advocates, compelling value. And there's an example. That's enough about me because we're running out of time. Let's get to you. So yours would look like this. My expertise is in financial planning for successful business owners. I mean, it could be that, whatever words fit for you. I work with fast-paced owners and entrepreneurs who want to focus on what they do best, which is running their business and making money. This is this very specific one with a coaching client I work with, and this is his words that he is using now with great success. He wants fast-paced entrepreneurs. He loves the energy from it, and he used to own a business, and now he feels he owns a business too as an advisor, which of course he does. And so this is what drives him, and so you can see who he works with, what they want. That's the benefits. And then he says, I'm like a financial quarterback for my client. I put the right team in place to make sure. This value in action, this for example, is what brings the other things to life a little bit. You can say the first three lines, the expertise, work with who want to, and that's nice, so people will get it. But when you have a little story, a little example, that's what really brings it to life, and it's that value in action that they get from this. So I promised I was going to help you multiply your best clients and how to master this process. So if you want to go deeper with any aspect here, very affordable way to do this with me. I'd be happy to help you. I would love to work with you, in fact. And if you're a fan of Annette's teachings, then I know we're going to fit well together quite nicely. So let's just wind this up to see if there's any other questions coming in. I just see one, which is asking for referrals. Should you do it in person or over the phone, okay? Or can you use an email? I'll give you real quick, and then I'll let you go. My hierarchy of asking for introductions. In person is always the best if you can make it happen, because you're going to have time set aside and you're going to see the nonverbal language. That's always the best. Next step would be over the phone. Can work, especially if it's a phone review, if you've scheduled a phone appointment and you have a good relationship with this person and you have a very specific person you're looking to be introduced to. Because over the phone, usually a little less time, you can't see the body language. Next level would be an email. Now, I ask for referrals and introduction with email sometimes, but only if I have a really good relationship with that person and I'm looking for a very specific email introduction to someone. Letter, don't waste your time trying to ask for introductions, mailing letters to your clients. It just won't produce the result that you want. So in person is best, over the phone would be second best. Any other questions? I see no other questions or chat coming through. So Annette, thank you for the opportunity to put myself in front of your folks and folks who value your information. And I hope they've found a lot of value in this. The bottom line is, are you dabbling or are you committed, right? Are you going to think about it or are you going to take action? That's the bottom line. So Annette, I'll let you wrap this up and then say thank you to everybody.
Well, thanks so much, Bill. This has been a wealth of information. And as much as I know Bill, I've interviewed him. I know him very well. I know his material very well. I'm even like, oh my gosh, I have pages of notes. Great, great content. So thank you so much. And what I want to really focus on, my friends, first of all, I want to thank you so much for joining us. We really value your time. We know it's important. The key now is you've gotten all this knowledge, and the problem with most advisors is because we're more wired from a neural standpoint of being factual based and of thinking that the entire solution is more knowledge, and all that does is keep us just stuck. Like, knowledge is power. Yeah, I mean, everyone's, oh, read another book. Well, why don't we just try to implement what we've already read? So what I encourage you to do now is, I really encourage you to take advantage of this. This is a no-brainer. I also encourage you to take action, because even if you start applying one or two of the concepts you've learned, it's a matter of, by you're taking action and you're doing something is how you're going to see the results. You can attend all the trainings you want in the world, but until you actually commit and do the work, not much has changed. There's a lot of people that want to be top producers. There's a lot of people that want to be multimillionaires. The group's pretty small, my friends, and it's because most people want it, then they don't take that next step of actually day to day, the boring and the mundane that it requires not only to become a multimillionaire or to become a top producer that's getting a ton of warm introductions. You've got to do the work, even if you don't want to do it. So that's what I'd leave with, and I hope everyone really appreciates Bill taking his time to give us so much value. I mean, this, just to give you feedback, Bill, this was so much information. I mean, to me, you should have charged for this training. It's fascinating. So I really appreciate it. I'm so glad to have you as a friend and a colleague. And I really appreciate your expertise and all that you do to really, really, really help advisors. And Bill hasn't paid me to say this, but one thing I'll say about Bill, his focus is so much in on his clients. And unfortunately, not everyone in our industry is, meaning it's easy to say, oh, I really care about you. It's another thing, how do you act when the lights aren't on and people aren't there and you really can do whatever you want to do? And I will say Bill walks his talk, and that's one of the reasons why he's in my inner circle. So I want to thank you so much, Bill, and for everyone on the call. And now you just got to go do it. So I hope you gain value, and I hope you really do take advantage of this.
Great. Thanks, everybody. Thanks, Annette.
Bye now.
Bye.
Bye.